Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special live episode of Get the Word Out. I'm here with my co founder and good friend, Dr. Tim Peck. And I'm Sarah Blessing, and this is Project Next. And we are going to talk about the horrific stories coming out about ICE in Minnesota and Minneapolis. We're going to talk about the updates with President Trump in Venezuela, because all of this is very alarming and scary. We're going to talk about our own senator, Indiana Senator Todd Young, standing up for us and doing the right thing today with a vote to try to stop President Trump from having unlimited power and just, going to war with whatever country he wants or kidnapping whatever leader he wants. And then we're also going to do a big shout out and thanks to the Indiana Rural Summit, who are rock stars who helped me and a bunch of other state candidates file yesterday in Indianapolis. And that was a really good, positive thing. So we really want to do this without the division. This is scary. This is horrific. What ICE is doing is wrong, but this is also sad because it's just going to keep dividing us and fearing and hating each other when the majority of us know this is wrong. So, Tim, how are you today, my friend? And wow, what a week.
What a week. Yeah, I've been sick and under the weather all week, and I know now you're sick and under the weather as well. But the news doesn't stop, politics doesn't stop. And trying to bring people together doesn't stop. And weeks like this, it becomes even harder, right? All of these things that are driving us and dividing us. And as you said, the only people winning right now are those that control the purse here and get the money off of all these clicks and views.
Yeah, both
People on the ground
sides.
certainly aren't
Both
winning.
sides that profit off of us are thinking, how can we milk this for all it's worth? How can we separate each other even more and make each other hate each other? How can we recruit it for our own money-making schemes that they're doing?
Mm,
It's disgusting because what happened is horrific and horrible and needs to stop, but also the division needs to stop. So how do we do it, Tim? I
yeah.
mean, this is hard.
Yeah, we do it by showing up. And so, firstly, let's talk. We're going to talk about Indiana. We're going to talk about Minnesota. We're going to talk about Venezuela. Let's talk about Indiana first.
Go for it.
And the Indiana Rural Summit, what it is. And really, its filing day was a couple days ago, or yesterday,
Yesterday.
excuse me, yesterday. And that lasts until early February, where you go to Indianapolis if you're a candidate and sign up and say, yes, put me on the ballot. You can sign up with for me, the FEC, the Federal Election Committee, but that doesn't matter. You can't get on the ballot until you go to Indianapolis and literally sign on a dotted line. And Sarah, you did that yesterday.
Yeah, this is my second time doing it. The first time I barely made it on time and I missed the primary ballot, but I got on the general just barely. And this time I'm on day one. I'm like so prepared now, Tim. And I
Uh,
just want to shout out to the Indiana Rural Summit and Michelle Higgs and everybody that works with that group for helping us all get organized. I couldn't find the right paperwork online, and Michelle sent it to me the night before, Tuesday night at 10:30 at night. I'm filling out my papers. I didn't have to. I could have just filled them out there,
mhm.
just so you know, but, it's nice to have it filled out ahead of time. And then, my friend Abby Taylor, who works with the Democrats in Indy, she met me when I got there. She met me and took me to the 2 different buildings and got the thing signed. So it made it a lot easier. And, this time I had so many friends. I'm walking in that
Yeah.
building. Wendy Dant-Chester's at work. She's a state rep. She's like, "Sarah Blessing." I gave her a hug. I saw a bunch of people. Everybody's like, "Sarah, hi. We've talked online. I've seen your shows." Like, it was really so different from last time when nobody knew me.
Yeah, yeah. You've done a lot of work. You've done a lot of work before this to get here, and then over the last year, especially, just putting in the time to reach as many people as possible and
It's
educate people, and
it's
and then
hard. And
not
yesterday
only
gave me a lot of hope. There were so many new people running for
yeah,
state house and state senate. So I hope that gives you hope, Tim, because maybe this can help the bigger races too, to get
yeah,
people out in Indiana to vote for the better candidate and not just the party.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that helps. It definitely helps getting the word out. And what I was about to say is that you've done a lot of work to kind of get your name out there and be able to get the message out there, but you've also worked on yourself along the way and learned a ton along the way, not only on how to better reach people, etc., but your views are constantly evolving as you learn more, right? And that ability to be more than oneself is today, to be learning and to be able to be open minded enough to change your mind a little bit here, a little bit there, as you talk to people, rather than just staying straight on this is the one thing I believe no matter what, allows us to have real conversations. So,
Thanks for
yeah,
saying that. That's a really high compliment, and I have been trying to do that, and you also do that.
yeah.
Me and you have discussed things, and both of us have changed depending on what we're finding out when we're talking to people that it pertains to. I'm not a farmer, so I'm going to
Mhm.
listen to a farmer and be like, oh, same as you. You're going to listen to a farmer. You'll be like, Sarah, guess what I just found out? And I'm like, whoa. So the constant talking to everybody in this state to find out what needs they have, which guess what? They all have some giant needs right now because our state is hurting, our country is hurting.
Yeah.
It's
And
like a privilege, and it's hard.
And we need more people to listen to one another. This morning on the radio, I heard Tom Swazi from New York, who's a representative, who's the Democratic head of the Problem Solvers Caucus, um, uh, and talking just about with a Republican on the radio together, talking about healthcare and in particular about extending the Obamacare subsidies, and the two of them kind of working together on that. And just more, we need more of that. And next person on that we're talking about today is Senator Todd Young here in Indiana. The man's a conservative. Don't agree with him.
Republican senator, right?
Republican senator, one of Indiana's. Don't agree with him on a lot of things, but um, in the past, he had really been reaching across the aisle in many ways, working on a lot of things as it comes to science and technology, working with Democrats and being pragmatic in many ways. And then this year, as Trump took power and there was some tension, he kind of disappointed me a few times with a lot of his votes. Um,
I think at the early stages of this second term, a lot of people kind of just bowed and did what they were told.
yeah,
And now I'm hopeful that,
right. Yeah.
because what are we talking about? There was a vote today. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, yeah, he voted along the lines with Democrats in the Senate, along with Lisa Murkowski from Alaska,
Maine? Alaska.
Senator
Yeah.
Senator Collins from Maine, and then another senator I can't recall who was on it, who's a Republican. All voted to be with the Democratic line around limiting Trump's powers and war powers, especially as it pertains to Venezuela. That if he is to use the military again, he needs to not only inform but ask Senate to do so.
So
And
the
this is
Senate voted. A few Republicans worked with the Democrats to say, Trump, you cannot do this. President Trump, you're abusing your powers as president, and you can't go to other countries and kidnap their leaders, even when they're bad leaders.
Yeah, and I think that
What's
word kidnap has connotation to it, right? As the Trump party line is that they went and arrested someone, not that they kidnapped someone, right? And so,
right?
and that this was a legal operation, not a military
And
operation.
there were people from Venezuela that died in this.
Oh, for sure. And so it
At
was,
first, I
yeah,
saw
not
the
your
number
typical,
40, and then I think I saw 60. So I don't think we know how many
right?
right now.
And so military force was used here, no matter what, and no
And
matter
like
how you
bombing
spin
of
it.
like their infrastructure, their like Capitol
Yeah,
buildings and stuff. I mean,
exactly. And
yeah, I
so you
talked about
can't.
this with Kelly Thompson, who's running for Congress in District 3, I think, I'm pretty sure. And she was, we were just talking about what would happen if another country saw us and said, look, Trump's abusing his power. He's doing things he shouldn't be doing. We need to save the country. And another country came in and did this to us. I would think the majority of us would say that's wrong. We don't want that. And I
Yeah.
just kind of want to point that out.
Yeah, and there's a double standard with Americans in general around what our role is with other countries, right? And Trump's kind of leaning into that as the U.S. can do what it wants, especially in the Western Hemisphere, and whatever you think of that, which obviously we should not be country building and changing in other places. That we've seen what that does. It brings forever wars, if anything.
Right.
For us,
Historians, people that study history, people that study law and what has gone on in the past, they collectively say it is a bad thing to do something like this. And I
well,
think, you know, and we've done it before in South America and it hasn't worked out. So, and we like when I did my show on Sunday with Kelly, we didn't really know a whole lot because it had happened Friday night or Saturday morning. And now we know a little bit more. We know who Trump has put in power since then, and it's not a good person. It's someone that
no,
is like the person that they
yeah, it
captured.
wasn't even his ally that he has there in terms of the person who won the Nobel Prize, and so yeah, put in the person that I don't know. Maybe it seems that it has a lot to do with oil, right? And made a deal to get oil rights and to get quote unquote paid back for the oil that it lost when America was kicked out of Venezuela a long time ago in its oil fields. But this what did the Senate do? They stood up and said it is our constitutional right, the Senate, to be the one that declares war and that enables military to carry out aggression toward another country. And that is the Senate's role, 1,000%.
That's democracy. That's checks and balances doing its part, saying we
That's
don't
our
have a king.
Constitution.
That's
That
our
is great,
Constitution.
our Constitution. And
What
so
happens if President Trump doesn't follow this? What
then you
happens
have
if he does this again?
what's called a constitutional crisis of it needs to get resolved. And how do you resolve a constitutional crisis? Well, it goes to the Supreme Court to try to resolve and figure out what the right thing is by what the Constitution says.
Okay.
Um, and
So it
when you
goes to the
start,
Supreme Court. What if the Supreme Court says, President Trump, you cannot do this? What would happen then?
now you have a real constitutional crisis where you have people where there's been resolution, there's been legal resolution, and it still happens. There's no real precedent for that, right? What exactly happens there except for a civil war? And I don't want to get too scary, but that is like what has happened in the past, right? So it's going to be going way outside the bounds of what our Constitution has allowed in the past, and resolution is I don't want to even make up ways of how it would get done, but there's no it's illegal. You're making something illegal. There are constitutional amendments that allow the cabinet to then say, hey, our president isn't functioning legally, let's get rid of him. There are a number of things that are fail safes, but that's really challenging the Constitution as it is if that were to happen.
And we're going to keep reporting on this story as it goes on. If you want, the truth without the spin, without the trying to make us angry and divided. It's really interesting. Something's happened to us with YouTube. We're getting a lot more YouTube views right now. We're getting a lot of like troll type like comments. And I just question how many of those are actual people and how many. It's so weird because it's like they're actually trying to make us more divisive, Tim, while we're doing the show live.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so interesting
Try
and
to
it's
make
so
us angry
meta
while
what's
it's
going
happening.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah, um and it's because we're talking about really important national news that we're all scared about. And then you just see how this manipulative money-making machine works. You get somebody that makes you mad, and then you fire back another mad comment, and then that person and it causes the division to get wider. But if you actually walk across the street, if I found a Republican that I cared about in person without the screen, and I asked them what they thought, and we had a conversation where we both didn't yell at each other and call each other names, I bet we could find some places where we agree. And I bet we would both be worried about similar things. So I just want everybody that's listening, that's fearful, that's seeing the divisive comments, to realize they're there as a tool to keep us divided, because the people profiting off of us do not want us working together, because then we would elect leaders that care about us and not about them continuously making money, making profit. So it is a struggle. It's a struggle, everybody. Today is a struggle because I'm really sad about what's happening with ICE. I'm really sad about what's happening with Trump and Venezuela and all of this. And we really have to keep our head on the goal. We have to keep focusing on the mission. The mission is make America better, make the world better, care about everybody, and stop the division. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments here as you're talking about comments coming in, and some of them are, talking about what they believe in around what Trump has done. Others, we get into this, Trump is the best. Like, why does that? What do you mean? He's the best at literally everything? Is that what you're
He can
saying?
do no wrong. Isn't it not good to
I
to
mean,
put our
that's just completely antithetical to what it is to be the American experiment, which is, you have to, things get challenged around the edges, and you learn as a society, and as a constitution learns of itself, it starts to change to move forward in whenever it gets challenged. And so no one person is the best at everything. And so
yeah.
this has been a
We
this has been a
we don't
misstep.
elect kings here. Whoever we do elect as this most powerful position, or very powerful position, it doesn't matter whether you voted for that person or not. We should be holding them accountable and looking into their actions. And whenever it's always like it's not a good thing when somebody comes into power and says only they can lead. Only they can do it. They're the only ones smart enough. They're the
Let
only
me let
ones
me just
capable. That's not a good
Someone
thing.
here says, "Why does Venezuela concern you? It has no effect on your life." It's, first of all, just people are people, and we don't want to be killing people who don't need to be killed. So that's not our role in the world. But more so in terms of like how it does affect our life, is that what we've had over the last year is a Congress that has what you say abdicated, meaning stepped down from its role and said, executive branch, whether that's President Trump or not, executive branch, you can do whatever you want. We are not going to express our powers that the Constitution is given us. And that causes an imbalance of power. And when you do that, you now have one of the branches being too powerful. And we've seen that that is not how democracy lives in the modern world, right? You get a degradation of democracy when one part, and that's where the whole no kings come from. That's where people's upset, where they get upset. And so by having Trump do this and keeps calling it, you hear all of his cabinet keep calling it a legal operation. So, but when in reality it's a military operation, they have gone above and over the head of Congress, of the Senate in this case, to make a war move. And so when you do that, and if the Senate can't get the power back, then you have a problem. And what just happened today is that the Senate said, no, that's our power. We want it back. And they did it in a bipartisan way. So, but that was happening under Biden too. You let it get, you let
And
it
Tim,
get
don't
dug,
read.
and it'll continue.
We're not going to read
No,
the comments,
I,
because otherwise
I,
we're just going to get trolled the whole time. It's crazy.
no,
It's
no. I
wrong.
wanted. My point is, I wanted to read that one because, yeah, this isn't about Trump or Biden. I just explained that.
Right. Yeah.
This isn't
Right.
about Trump or Biden. This is about executive branch getting too much power versus Congress
It doesn't
letting
matter
its
who's
power
in
go.
power. It's wrong for that person to do things that's above their role. It
Mhm,
doesn't matter whether it's a Democrat or a Republican.
mhm,
And another thing, like there's been a couple more developments about Venezuela that I wanted to touch on briefly before we move on about ICE. Um, this oil, we don't exactly know how much oil is in this country, because the people that were giving the numbers weren't necessarily always telling the truth. So that's something, because I was just assuming, like everybody else was reporting, this is like the country that has more oil than anybody else in the world. We don't really know that. And another thing is oil companies in America don't really necessarily seem to be wanting this because Venezuela is not a safe country for American people to fly down and go to and look at the oil fields and the oil equipment and everything. It's not safe right now. It doesn't have a safe government. So we're not going to be just flying down there and like getting this oil and all of a sudden oil prices are cheaper and this is great for us. That's not actually the truth. You need a stable government to be able to come in and work with the oil. Also, is it our role to come in and say it's our oil now? That's bonkers to me. This is not our country. So there's a lot of things like when this first happened, I knew it was wrong, but I was like, seemed like some things that were decent, but now that more time has set in, I don't think there's anything good about what has happened. It's not going to help America. It's not going to help Venezuela. It's not going to help the world. Is he really going to be able to stop oil going into other countries like he's saying? I don't know. He doesn't always tell the truth.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to wait and see. And I just fear for human beings and their lives. All human beings have value. Doesn't matter what country you're born in. I just don't want people to be getting harmed because of government people in charge and their egos and everything. So, you know, I'm just sad about it.
Yeah. Um, let's move on. So many comments coming in that are,
Yeah, don't look at them. I'm not going to look at them
yeah,
anymore.
that are
Whenever
just,
the Kelly show came on, I had to stop looking at them. We had like 755 minutes. It was wild. So let's talk
yeah,
about ICE. Do you want to cover? Most people have seen it by now. You're getting a different version of the story depending
yeah,
on whether
yeah.
you call yourself a right or left person.
We were looking
Um,
at, and Sarah and I were looking at kind of far right periodicals around it, far left periodicals around it, looking at like what the left, the left WAPO, and what the right shows versus, what Fox shows. And the narrative is certainly different, but even like the same exact video will be different about what is said about it. One the same exact video, same exact clip will be, still frame will be taken out of the videos, and they'll say this is someone, this is a pedestrian, a person in the car is ramming a officer.
Let me just
Whereas,
read what happened so people that, in case you don't know, happened yesterday. A U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE officer fatally shot a woman named Renee Nicole Good during a federal immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis yesterday on Wednesday, January 7th. Authorities say the agent fired after allegedly she tried to drive at law enforcement, but local officials strongly dispute the self-defense claim, and critics have called the killing unjust. I've seen the video. It's horrific. Um, it is so sad. I am glad there's video of it. There's evidence since we're getting different stories reported.
yeah,
Um, the victim was a 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, a U.S. citizen, mother of three, poet, new resident in Minneapolis, a white woman. Her death has sparked vigils and protests, with community members mourning her as a compassionate neighbor and calling for accountability. The like there's a lot of stuff going on with trying to investigate what happened,
mhm,
where the city, the mayor have been shut down from being involved in the investigation. There's a lot of stuff that I'm sure is going to come out. This was wrong. This should not have happened. I'm
yeah,
so sorry. I'm so sorry to this family and to this woman that lost her life. To me, it looks like she was shot in the head and then her car went to the away from the but or it was pulling that way when she was shot. But we're getting, depending on who you voted for, you're getting different sides to the story. But I'm just saying this is awful, and I'm very concerned about ICE, and I believe that they are acting above their power. And we're just going to continue to see more and more stories of this. They seem to be increasing. I was fearful someone was going to be murdered by ICE. I was, I was fearful of it, and it's happened. So Tim, you go for it.
yeah. I mean, this was an inevitability, right? This is not. It shouldn't. It shouldn't shock anyone that this happened. Of course, this would happen. That you would have essentially, let's call it space bet, a non-immigrant get harmed and shot by ICE in the heightened mood that we have, with ICE being, quote unquote, deployed into certain cities, with people in Minnesota, therefore, training themselves up to be observers of behaviors. People have whistles around their necks at all times to alert others that something might be happening. A whistle, it's alertness. Everybody's on edge one way or another. You're just asking for a build up moment for something like this to happen. And yeah, what I saw on there was unexcusable. That police officer was likely very scared.
They didn't have to be there. This did not have to happen.
Right.
Nobody
So
was committing a crime. It
right.
was a raid. And if we would just stop the raids, this violence would stop.
Yeah.
Like, we've gotta realize that.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't have been doing this work that the federal government is telling them to do, this woman would still be alive. The division, we wouldn't be having this right now.
Right.
Um, and
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 right. Yeah. I mean, and you have people, the promise, the campaign promise from President Trump was to get rid of the criminals and the hardened criminals and the worst of the worst, if you recall. And that is certainly not what's happening. Maybe that's happening as part of this, to target people who are leading gangs and people who are smuggling drugs and people and horrible things. But the collateral damage has been arresting people who are, not criminals or have misdemeanors. Or we just heard today of someone that we know getting deported after being pulled over for a speeding ticket and is on a student visa. And so, these are the people that don't on a student visa, right? And now has a misdemeanor, so gets deported. These are the people that have gotten in the collateral. Now, we knew that collateral would get larger and larger into people that are beyond people who are immigrants, right? And are recent immigrants, I should say. And then, now is people who are fighting for those immigrants, who are defending them, who are trying to bring accountability. Now we've seen someone die in that level of the kind of concentric circles.
and people have been getting hurt for a
Yeah,
while, but
and it'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger if we continue this
and
craziness.
I just want everybody to stop and realize these are human beings. I don't care if somebody thinks totally differently from me, if somebody thinks awful things that I don't agree with, they shouldn't be murdered. We've got to call for nonviolence here. We need to think back of Martin Luther King Jr. and his wise words. And we need to realize these are human beings. And I get that you want to say that your side is right no matter what. I get the pull to stay with your group. But can everybody just stop and just take a deep breath and realize these are human beings?
Yeah,
This was a woman that was not committing crimes, that accidentally got involved in a scary ICE situation. And it's going to keep happening if we don't stop and talk to each other and realize this is wrong. These are human beings.
yeah,
These are Americans. If that matters more to you, it doesn't to me. Humans are humans. And we should try to be peaceful and nonviolent and talk to each other and work with each other. Peace is always the better option, and it's a gazillion times harder, but it's the right one. And I'm just so sad that right now people are commenting just things like she's not real, or because she messed up, or because she wasn't a Trump fan, that her life didn't matter. I just like, come on, everybody, wake up. We're being manipulated here. We're being
yeah,
manipulated by people profiting off of our division. Let's come together and say this is wrong. I believe a lot of people do think it's wrong on both sides. We're just not seeing it.
yeah. Yeah, my what I did with my wife was we watched it without any sound, or just sat back full screen, took a moment to just watch it and play it over again and really try to look at the video and debate it a bit. And what we kind of said at the end here is what you just said, like, a person just died. Does it, you know,
Does
we're
it
in
matter
this
if she's ever
situation,
made a mistake in her life or not? A person
right?
just died.
A person just died. And how do you calm down the temperature here? What do we want our leaders to look like? What leaders are you going to elect this next election and beyond that? Are it the people who are going to turn up the temperature, or are the people who are going to find a way to be the adult in the room, to say this is terrible and figure out a way to move forward where we don't kill one another?
And I know what's going to happen. Like right now on my Harrison County Dem leadership group text thread, they've got plans for a protest to happen. And I know that there are protests now going on now. There are going to be thousands and thousands more. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that because this is awful. I'm worried about the temperature in the room being so high that there's going to be more violence. I am worried about people on all sides of this getting hurt. And I want everybody to make sure they're registered to vote. And I want everybody to do a little bit of research on who's going to be on the ballot in May. It's May 5th for us, and it's other places, it's other days on across the country, to pick the nonviolent person, to pick the person on the ballot that wants unity, that is a uniter and not a divider. You
Yeah.
know, an Andy Bashir, a Pete Buttigieg, Nikki Haley, a person on all the sides that is saying this is wrong, violence is wrong. And I don't know, because I know we're all hurting right now, and we want revenge. We've got all this rage inside of us. And so protesting is a way to get some of that rage out. And I think I understand that and respect that. And I think that's totally everybody's right. What do we do with that? We can't just protest. We also have to make sure we're voting, we're engaged locally in our communities, we're picking people that are not throwing logs in the fire of this and driving the division up. And if we don't also do that step, are we going to see change, or is this going to get worse?
Yeah, that's right. And been to some of these protests earlier this summer
Me
and
too.
early fall and spoken at some of them. And as you're talking, toward the end, saying like, and we're going to go out and vote, right? Like, and doing it in a rally chanting way. And you say it over and over and over again, like, none of this matters unless you vote, right? None of this matters unless you vote. And we hear, oh, what if this is, what if our vote is not enabled, and it doesn't get counted, etc. Well, that's catastrophizing and thinking about how bad things can be rather than doing the work that needs to be done. It's a
I think it would
responsibility
be
that we all
very smart of us to overwhelmingly elect a uniter in this next election, or
have. Mhm.
elect uniting people in the next one. And then when we have a presidential one, we elect, and that the votes are very clear cut, that a big majority of the country
Yep.
wanted this. So I will be looking for that. Um, and if you are going to protest, if you are watching and you're going to protest, please make sure your signs are not hate filled and trying to anger the other side, trying to get revenge at the people that voted for Trump, because that could end up causing harm to you. It's going to make them more angry at you. It's not going to make them want to vote with us. We need signs that are welcoming people, because I know there's a lot of them, Tim. There's a lot of people that voted for Trump in the last election that did not vote for this. They did not vote for
Okay.
what's
I
going
mean,
on in
I've
Venezuela.
gotten, I don't know if I told you, I've offline, but I've gotten texts from Republicans today who I don't know, who have my information through the campaign, who are saying, I didn't vote for this, who are saying, I can't tolerate this administration for one more moment kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so people kind of moving over, both through the Venezuela situation, from people in the military saying that to me. I have it, just read it to you. And then from this situation here being saying, oh, this has gotten out of hand. And so, yeah, it's where's the power? The power is with you to vote for people who are going to unite.
Yeah. Oh, Tim, I'm sad. A lot of the country are hurting. I think I think some of the really far people that support Trump, they can't admit the truth. They can't admit what's happening. A lot of Republicans are saying they didn't vote for this. Like you said, we're meeting them. Um, I think that they're going to switch who they're voting for in this next election. And instead of admitting it and seeing it, they have to go after the people that are saying the truth, like you and I. We're trying to say the truth in a compassionate, loving way. And that's so scary to them that they have to think that we're monsters so that we get called stupid, idiots, monsters. We don't know what we're talking about. Trump's the best. The fear is so strong right now. And I just want everybody to take a deep breath and realize the people in power, they don't always care about us, the little people. And it's okay to realize we've been tricked. It's okay to say, I was wrong. Tim, I became a Republican after 9/11 when I was a junior in college because I totally bought in to the weapons of mass destruction stuff. I was like, good thing Gore lost, even though I voted for him. And I completely got manipulated by that and that war. And we have enough evidence now to know we did not need to be in that war, and we didn't win that war, and good things did not come out of it. And a lot of people died, a lot of Americans, and a lot of people in the countries we invaded.
Yeah.
And we have the knowledge to see this is wrong, but I get it's scary to admit your tribe, your group is doing some wrong things. And so our side needs to be empathetic. We shouldn't shame them. We shouldn't yell at them and want revenge from them. That does nothing to fix our country, nothing to unite. We should welcome them. We should care about them when they say they're allowed to. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene for a minute, Tim. This is a woman who completely bought in to Trump, MAGA conspiracies. She comes to power and she realizes firsthand, she's a person in power in with Trump, that the stuff he's saying is not true, that the conspiracies aren't true. And she publicly says it. Then her side turns on her. She has death threats and she leaves for her own safety, leaves being a state or a congressional representative. I mean, I cannot believe this is our reality right now.
Hmm. Yeah. I think, again, hit the point. We need uniters. And, how do we do this? We're going to need people to be really strong. It's really easy to be mad and then let your emotions lead you and lead the people around you to get them mad about other people. It's harder. It's much harder to put together a movement where you find and tap into people's emotions to get them into unifying, to get them into the mode of loving, to get in the mood of forgiving, to get into the mode of bringing people together. And as you said, we have so many people on the left who attack us for even making a door, opening a door and keeping it open for people on the right who might want to walk through it and talk to us and agree with us and disagree with us. Right. And so, especially if you're on the far left and you are thinking, we're just going to not let anyone into the progressive movement, the moderate movement, any movement that you want, and just like continue to say, whatever
We're
you
going to
did in
keep
the
kicking
past,
people out,
you're
keep kicking
done.
them out because you're not exactly like me. And then it's like, okay, so we have one fewer person that's going to vote with us. Oh, now another fewer person.
Yeah.
We got to stop that.
And recently we were called that we're not a Democratic channel, a Democratic post.
We are,
And
that
like,
is true. We are not.
absolutely.
We are not.
We
We're a
are not.
people.
That's not the point, is to be Democratic or Republican. That is not the important point. That is not the important part of leadership. Your party is not the important part of leadership.
I call out Democrat stuff just as much as I call out Republican stuff. We're for the people, we're for community, we're for collectively working together to make things better for us, because the system that we have now, this division that we have now, this either you're all right or you're all wrong, is
Mhm,
not working for America.
mhm, mhm.
It's not working. Look at
It's
it.
not.
I think both sides can agree we're not doing so great right now.
No. And then but both sides yell at the other side for that's the
But we
reason we're
just
not
gotta
doing
stop.
it. But
If
we
we could
all
all
need
come
to
to the
look at
table and
ourselves.
have like, okay, here's 5 things my side could have done better. And like
Mhm.
we came to a table and we both like said that. Okay, the Democrat side could have done this part better and this part. What about you guys? Okay, the Republican side could have done this better and this better. Okay, let's talk now. If they would just do that simple little strategy,
Yeah,
which you do in like marriage counseling or something, if we could just turn on our brains and think like rational adults to actually fix our real problems instead of blaming the other side for all of them. I mean, come on.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, Sarah, there's a lot of work to be done in these next 11 months and well beyond that as well, to let people hear the message, to try to work with people, to sit down at tables, to have phone calls, and give people the real time that they need to express their emotions so that you can get down to the logic of what needs to happen to advance the country and advance our communities. And so we have a lot of work to do these next 11 months here on Project Next, but in kitchen tables, on phone calls, in fairs, in the 4-H fairs, and everything that we will be at. And December was a hard month. November, December, personally, I'm actually feeling very motivated right now
I am
in
too.
in
I am
this moment,
too.
because I think it's just showing, as we've been talking about, that the more hate you put onto a situation, the worse it'll get. And so you can have hate, you can feel hatred, you can feel that, but how do you overcome that for a moment and find the parts where you can be reasonable with someone, find the parts where you can love them or you can forgive them and be able to move forward? And we just need to find leaders who are willing and wanting to do that. And I think Indiana can be the seed of that, and it has already become the seed of growing a movement where people can stand up to their own party and work together to say what's right, what's wrong. They're going to do a lot of things that are wrong on both sides along the way. But how do we focus on the stuff that's done right and make more and more and more and more and more of that?
And we
And
can have hope. Indiana stopped redistricting. We stood up to bullies. We worked together. Republicans and Democrats worked together at the state Senate. We proved it's possible in Indiana. This is huge. We've got so many great organizations like Indiana Rural Summit, Mad Voters, League of Women Voters, Indivisible. We've got all this organizing, and it's been going on for years now. And we're doing stuff. We're
yeah,
making things better. It's coming. So I have a lot of hope because I'm behind the scenes seeing all this work. I filed for State House yesterday with a giant group of amazing people trying to fix the state.
yeah,
Whereas last time I was alone, had no clue what I was doing.
yeah,
The how quickly that changed. I am so proud of the thousands and thousands of people working tirelessly for Indiana to make this place better for my families and for yours and for this community. So
yeah,
when times like this, when we're hurting, when we're seeing something horrific happen, when this woman lost her life and this should not have happened, when the division is going to get worse, it already is, it's going to get worse. It's so important to step back and remember, look for the helpers. Like Fred Rogers said, Mr. Rogers said, in times of crisis, you look for those people that are helping
Yeah.
because they are there. There are more of us. There are more good people that want community, that wants what's right, than there are bad. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't know 100% sure, that that's a fact. I go out and see it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just the online stuff is fake. The online hate and manipulation, it's fake. And a lot of people are believing it is real, but that doesn't make it actually real.
Yeah. I mean, even a lot of these comments over here are just bots talking back and
Yeah,
forth
I
somewhere.
wonder how many of them are real. My brother was telling me that a report came out, it could be as much as half of the chatter on social media sites are fake bots sent to make us more divided, to
Right.
get our attention. So that's kind of mind-blowing because we're seeing it right now that we're talking about national stories and our YouTube channel's blown up. It's fascinating and horrifying, and we all need to be aware of it.
Well, what's something good that happened to you today, Sarah? So we can end on that for a moment.
I get to be with my brother. I'm in Indy right now. I'm really close to him. He's my little brother. He's the best brother in the whole world. I'm so lucky, and I just don't get to spend a lot of time with him. And when I do, I bring up my children, and it's chaos, but they love staying up here. And this is just me. And since I got sick, I'm staying another day, and that's been a real gift.
Yeah.
I love my brother so much. What about you? What's been nice with you?
I got to drop Cass off at school this morning. It was the second day of preschool ever.
Preschool?
Yeah,
Oh.
so cute. So excited to be there. So excited to come back. Letter M is the letter of the week. And he brought his monster truck as show and tell for M.
I remember doing that with my
Yeah,
twins. It's so
yeah.
cute.
Yeah. And
Oh,
so, I mean, that's the community that we're fighting for, right? Those are the things that we want to be untouched. Those are the things that we want to be supported. And all this hatred and division just gets in the way of it. So, yeah, let's turn down the temperature. Got 11 months to get there. Let's make it happen.
let's make sure we're ready to vote and we know who our candidates are because voting is the way to make change. And
Yeah.
we need to make sure we're talking to everybody and make sure that we're looking for uniters. Yeah. Yeah, you get rest up and thanks for doing this show with me. I missed you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
had a busy week last week, so it's nice. I like had to find other people running for Congress to talk to, Tim.
You
Which
good.
Kelly
You
was
got other
amazing.
candidates.
Kelly's
Yeah.
awesome. But it's just so funny. It's like, oh, my normal person running for Congress is not available. Yeah. Okay. I'm doing a show on Monday with Pastor Rich Genzero, who and we're going to talk, I think, about nonviolence. And he actually spent 14 and a half years of his life in prison for committing a violent crime. And while in prison, he dedicated his life to a life of nonviolence. And now he's a Lutheran pastor. And um, he calls out when things are wrong, when religion is used wrong. I really love that about him. So we'll be having a deep conversation about nonviolence and how that is the only correct path forward that we all need to strive for because it is so easy to act violently. So be ready for that conversation. It should be Monday morning at 10. And we'll have more stuff coming after that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Thanks,
Have a
Tim.
great day, everybody. Yep.
Bye, everybody. Love you guys.